Oh no, I think once those things have been done and closed.
So once the mechanic approves that this is the right car for you to buy, now you buy the car.
But the caveat there is it must be a very good mechanic.
Sure.
Because
not any mechanic.
Yes, because the same mechanic can lead you into trouble. He might overlook something or he might not have knowledge about the thing.
Some of the mechanics even have connections with the one selling the car. So he will definitely prescribe that car for you. You buy it, or he will approve it for you to buy. Then later go to the one who sold the car. That's my yeah, so we look at a very good mechanic. And it should even be your own mechanic.
Exactly. I was going to say that. A trusted mechanic, somebody you know, somebody who will seek your interest, not the interest of the other party. Yes.
Okay. So now the mechanic approved. I bought the car. The car is home now. It is now mine.
Exactly.
Good. We centered on home use vehicles. When we buy those cars, I am using a car. My brother comes to buy from me. Those paperwork, how does it go? Because the car is mine. I have my name on the papers. It's been registered in my name. Now a friend comes to buy. Do we have to go do a change of ownership and stuff, or I just have to?
No. So it's in the best interest of either parties to do the change of ownership.
Okay.
You understand? Because, for instance, sometimes when it's time for that car gets involved in an accident or something, and it's time for even insurance claim. Maybe the person who acquired you acquired a vehicle from the person is not there or has traveled. So the insurance may even want to process the vehicle in the previous owner's name. So the check will be written in his name or whatever, which you've paid for. And there could also be some issues with the law, or maybe you want to use that car for collateral. You understand? You go to the bank, okay, this is a collateral, and you are hot, but the car papers are not in your name. Nobody will mind you. It will be a problem. So, or the person, that vehicle has been involved in a crime. Okay. You see, in a developed country, they can just use their name plates or what we call number plates here to identify the owner of the vehicle. So you are sleeping in your room, and they said they have used that vehicle to rob a bank, and the name plate has been captured and the owner traced from the DVLA database. So you are there, then they come for you. Exactly. If you are not careful, you take some few slaps before they will get to know. before they will get to know the vehicle had already exchanged hands. Exactly. So once you sell it out, wash your hands out of it.
Just by the way. So now I have got a car. I have got a car. Yeah. So what are the normal things that I have to do as the owner of the car now to prolong the lifespan of my car?
Good. So once the car has arrived home now, the first thing we normally will be concerned about is the maintenance history of that vehicle. But that is not very common here to get in our part of the world. Okay, I'm acquiring the car, or I've acquired the car at the time the vehicle has done about 80,000 kilometers. So at that 80,000 kilometers, there were certain things that might have been, or that were recommended from even 1 kilometer all the way to the 80,000 kilometers. How sure am I that all those things have been taken care of? Because if they have been skipped, for instance, you have acquired a Toyota vehicle at 65,000 kilometers. Meanwhile, the maintenance schedule is telling you at 60,000 kilometers, you should have changed the transmission oil. And the vehicle is coming to you at 65 or 63,000 kilometers. Now, the conflict here is the previous owner at 60,000 kilometers, did he do it or he didn't do it? So we need a certain kind of maintenance vehicle, maintenance history to be able to know what work has been done on the vehicle. Because when you take such a vehicle to a very good mechanic shop, like the iGarage, the first thing we'll probe is what is the mileage on the vehicle. Then we'll kind of query the distance, the maintenance schedule, to see, okay, at this mileage, what are the items that needed to be done, and what are the items that should have been done previously before the vehicle reaches here. We do all these things to ensure that we don't meet any surprises down the road. So if we don't have any kind of maintenance history on the vehicle, then it is best, because some of the items are repetitive. Some of them are one time within that space of time or mileage. So the ones that are repetitive will not be so much concerned. They say change oil every 3 kilometers. We will know that, okay, the oil might have been changed, or even if the oil hasn't been changed, it's a repetitive action. So doing it at that point wouldn't hurt anything. But something that should have been done maybe once within that mileage or duration, so we don't have the history. So to play it safe or to be on the safe side, then we will say that then let's do it. Let's give it the benefit of the doubt.
But I'm coming. We are looking at home use car.
Exactly.
Now, is there any? I do hear people say Ghana use, home use. Now, which one are we talking about? Is it that I have used the car here in Ghana, I've sold it for a brother or a friend, or it is a car that has been used in UK, in Russia, in Japan, that has been brought to Ghana?
So
which one are we talking
so
about?
For the sake of simplifying our discussion, when we say used vehicle, it applies to both.
Okay.
Whether a vehicle has kind of
Ghana use home use. Home
use is used, yeah.
But used, yeah.
So use is used. What makes the difference is just the condition at the point of acquisition. Okay. You understand? Yeah. So, okay, when you are acquiring it in Ghana and it's changing hands from somebody who it might have already been registered, maybe the issues on it might have been more than when maybe it comes into the country fresh and you have to be the first, do the first registration. You have less issues on it, but use is use. But so this thing, what is important here is just the state of the vehicle at the point of at the mileage and other conditions at the point of acquisition. Right. Exactly.
All right. Thank you very much. Abusiafo yankomo twetwe no emu ayede ye kwa chire yesua de me gidi se abo bi amane se wo ka no dwumedi ekoso eni nti omo moden se ono nso obenye bi ahwe me pa cho afeina waba dwumedi no so a like share na ja comment bi ho emaye na afi yetumi ama dwumedi no aye kra behwe abusuafo ma mentwa me homra menje aboafo nkrato me ba na yato aso. Ebusemo wakwa abase wonya adaje atwe me mama kwaje aboafo nkrato maba yeda so ewo the iGarage ye twetwe enkomo ekwan a ye befa so ama ye cars ahodo ye hyen ahodo yetimi prolonging the lifespan ye de ye car no ha eno ho enkomo na ye twetwe no eno nti ye to enkomo twetwe no so rather we go to a point where we have to check the mileage of the car itself, and then the mileage that has been used before purchasing the car. Yes, that is where we've come to the iGarage. Technicians have checked that, so we continue from there.
All right, so we have that mileage now. So all we have to do now is to go for the maintenance schedule or the manual, what we call the shop manual for that particular vehicle, and we look at all the things that must be.
So when we say maintenance manual, what is that?
So with something like, let's say, let's say a book that tells us every maintenance activity that must be performed on the vehicle, on that particular vehicle throughout its lifespan. Okay. So when the vehicle reaches this mileage, do this. When it reaches that mileage, do this. So when the people or when the auto manufacturers manufacture the vehicle, they manufacture or they also produce a book as a guide that should help the user.
So when you come to the iGarage, you have that book or that maintenance schedule for every car on earth.
For every car.
Every car on earth.
Every car. The good
Wow.
news is that most of those schedules are even online. Once you have a smartphone, you should be able to even download some of those things free. Some of them come at a particular fee, but most of them you can get them free. That is why we advise that every vehicle owner should at least have that schedule. It doesn't, the ones you get for free don't go into details, but at least they present you a certain idea, high-level idea as to what to be done on the vehicle. So when you go to the mechanic's shop, it's like you kind of lead the conversation. You understand? Because you are already an informed user. So when the mechanic tells you something, you don't just take it on the surface. You probe further, because sometimes at the first instance, the guy may be telling you what is not true. But if you probe further and further and he sees that no, this is an informed customer, then he'll kind of backtrack on some of the conversations and you have value for money. If you go to a mechanic shop and you kind of have no idea about what is happening, then these guys are going to toss you left, right, and center. What is not even damaged, they'll ask you buy this and buy that. So that manual or that reference is on the phone, it's on the internet, everywhere. Yeah, you can get it.
All right. So now that you've gone for the maintenance manual, so we now have to check everything, every maintenance that's supposed to be done on the car. Then what next?
So once you have the schedule, or that's what we call the schedule, or the activities that must be performed on the vehicle, one to correct any issue or to prevent an issue from happening. Because as at the time you have acquired a vehicle, there may be some existing issues. So one, you are tackling those ones, and you're also doing that to also prevent anything from kind of happening before the next maintenance duration. So for instance, it is standard practice that every newly acquired vehicle, as at the time the vehicle is exchanging hands, you check your engine oil, because if you have a low or a bad engine oil in your engine, that thing will hurt your engine. You damage your bearings, and you may have to go in for engine overhaul or an engine replacement. I have seen people who have acquired vehicles within a matter of a month, they have had to change the engine, or the engine has to be worked on. The brake fluid, and this is not very common in this part of the world. People don't know that, a lot of mechanics don't even know that the brake fluid needs to be flushed out periodically, depending on what's there. Because the brake fluid we say is hydroscopic. When we say something is hydroscopic in engineering, it means that the thing has a natural tendency of acquiring moisture, atmospheric moisture. So the brake fluid kind of attracts atmospheric moisture, and once the moisture level reaches a certain level, that brake fluid damages, and it damages some internal component on your brake control system or the ABS valve. So we have a machine, or we have a tool here that will also test and tell us the moisture content in the brake fluid, and will advise whether it is due for replacement or not. When you acquire a vehicle, for instance, overheating is one of the killers of a lot of engines in Ghana. So we do overheating pressure tests over here, where we are able to pressurize your coolant hoses to a certain, or to the design pressure, to see whether there's any leakage that could cause coolant or water to leak out. Obviously, we don't advise water to be used in a vehicle's cooling system anyway. So yes, water is not good to be used in the vehicle's cooling
But
system.
almost 90% of the vehicles we're using in Ghana here goes with water.
Water is not good. On my previous discussions, I always mentioned that once you use water as a cooling medium in your vehicle, you are just shortening the lifespan of the vehicle. We are having this discussion because we want to prolong the lifespan of vehicles. So one of the things that viewers or listeners must at least hear or resort to is, if you have water in your vehicle now, by tomorrow morning, please replace it with a coolant, because there are so many advantages that a coolant comes with that water doesn't have. So water will kind of cause internal corrosion of your cooling system, kind of fast track it, so that your cooling system will get internal. You will not even notice it from outside. Your cooling pumps will corrode, the impellers or the blades in the cooling pump will kind of get damaged, and it will not be moving the water as fast as it should move it. Then the vehicle will start experiencing overheating. Once overheating comes, pressure builds up and all the leakages and everything. And if you are a new vehicle owner and you are not very familiar with these things, the engine kind of overheats, bearing, or it starts with head gasket damage. And some vehicles, once there's a head gasket damage, you have the bottom of the engine also being affected. Like you have a bearing damage, and you are not just going in for a head gasket replacement, but you have to do a bearing work now. So water will cause you a lot of problems if you use it as a cooling medium. So please use coolant, because the coolant is oil-based. The coolant also has what we call glycol. Most of the coolants we have in Ghana are glycol-based. You see, water boils at 100 degrees under normal atmospheric pressure. But when you use coolant has additives, and the normal operating temperature for most vehicles is between 95 degrees Celsius and 105 degrees Celsius. And I've already said that water will boil at 100 degrees Celsius. So what it means is that within that range, if you are using water, the temperature is already up, and once the water itself is boiling, you are not creating any effective cooling for your vehicle, and it affects engine performance, fuel usage, and all those things. But if you use coolant, because of the glycol base of the coolant, it raises the boiling point of the coolant to about 130, 140 degrees Celsius. So it gives you an enough room for your cooling system to work effectively, unlike the water. And the glycol or the coolant also is oil-based, and we know that your coolant fan is rotating, and anything that is rotating needs to be lubricated. Otherwise, it just gets damaged with time. You get it. So those are some of the. And for we the mechanics, it is easier when you have coolant being used and there is a leakage. You know why? Because the coolant is always colored, unlike water that is colorless. So it reduces the diagnostic or the troubleshooting time, and also saves the user a lot of money, because the longer the troubleshooting, the more money you pay in very organized garages. So, but water is colorless, so when water is leaking, it doesn't leave any traces behind. But when you use a coolant that has color or is colored, once it is leaking at a particular place, it leaves the colored traces behind. So anybody who is kind of walking the hoses will be able to identify that, okay, there's a color here, so it means the thing is maybe leaking through here.
Okay, so water is not good, use coolant. Water is not good, use coolant. Go and open your bonnet now, take off the water, go and buy coolant. Is there any other thing?
Yes, so then we go to the transmission oil.
Okay.
So that is when the vehicle has been acquired. So you go to the transmission oil, because I have to say this. You see, it is the oil or the fluids. Let me say the fluids, because it's not coolant is not an oil.
So I want you to take your time to talk about the oil. So let me go for commercial break. When I come back, you take a lot of time to talk about the oil, because I have heard a lot about oil. So we will have to talk about the oil. For director do oil also. Oil no dey. I say obi ka so sesa no yi oil na. Ese wata dey black yi. Ma menja abo afonga to be ba ye be kan no ho asem. Ewusam sam wa kwa ba ze wonya me ho adaje na o ma kwa kwaje abo afonga to no ma san ba. Afi ye be kan oil no ho asem. Na me ka se mechanic shop bi a me koye na akwa bi ba so besesa no oil. Ye yi oil no. O do nsafa engine nim kura mpo a efi a etare won nsa ho no. Data, it's not easy. So as I said, I want to give you some time to talk about the oil, because the oil is breaking down a lot of engines.
Exactly.
So I want you to talk about it now.
So just like humans, we have blood running through our body. The oils in the vehicle are important as the blood in our body.
Okay.
So most of the time, the vehicle normally kind of gets damaged, especially when it comes to the engine, the gearbox or the transmission, the ABS valve or the ABS modulator. Those ones, before they get damaged, mostly it's about the oil. Either, for instance, if we take the engine.
So now you're talking about the engine oil.
So
okay.
Let's go to the engine oil first. So the engine oil, the function of the engine oil, let's look at what it does in the engine anyway. So in the engine, you have rotating parts that are turning. Okay. Yes. So for your crankshaft, which is at the bottom, your crankshaft is there with the crankshaft bearings. They are into two parts, the main bearings and the connecting rod bearings. Then the connecting rods sit on the crankshaft, which holds your piston. And your pistons come up and down for combustion to take place. So these are moving parts, and any two metals that move relative to each other or move around each other will need to be lubricated, or they will need some form of oil so that it reduces friction, because friction will cause heat, and once heat is generated, this metal parts could even melt, or they could warp, they kind of distort. Yes. So we need the oil, one, to kind of do the oil to kind of do the lubrication, and also to serve as a cooling medium.
Okay.
Because the oils take away the heat from the metal parts, sends them to a component we call the heat exchanger, either the engine oil heat exchanger or the transmission oil heat exchanger. So within the heat exchanger, all that is happening is that the oil comes from the hot component, and the water at a lower temperature, or the coolant at a lower temperature come there. They meet in the heat exchanger, but they don't physically meet. So if you have a breakdown 24/7, you can contact us and we will cover you. In the next few months, we will be introducing the vehicle courtesy service. What that means is that when you bring your vehicle for us, whilst your vehicle is with us, we are servicing, we are going to give you another vehicle within the duration that your vehicle is with us at a token, so that we don't inconvenience you, because we understand that some people, the livelihood depends on the vehicle. You also need the vehicle to move around and make your distance. So iGarage, we have customers not just in Accra, not just in Adenta. Because of our work, we have people who drive all the way from Wa, Takrady, Kumasi, all around Ghana to visit our shop. So please come to our garage and have value for your money. Thank you. And you can reach us on 0244 072 003. The number again is 0244 072 003. Anything, we are good at the diagnosis. Any light, if you have light on your vehicle, warning lights, and you don't understand why those lights are there, just contact us and we'll explain to you why those lights are there. People make a joke or fun that when you come to our garage, you are not just coming to service your vehicle, but you are also coming to learn and understand your vehicle more. So please, as already said, 0244 072 003. Contact us for any issue concerning your vehicle and we'll be the best people to resolve it for you. Thank you.
Okay. Abusia enunti eno na director achechire bibie mudi ama no wo car no e break down wo kwan so a free number no o pese obey servicing free number no baby a wo bia wo free a ye beba na ya ba be hwew me pa chow wo car no dwumedie ana ye de brew me a me di dwumedie hu chia me din e de asofo chia me pa chow garage a ye be pie mu no eye the I Garage. My name Mr. Osidagbe and I train the CEO of the I Garage. Ebusia ebia na uwo garage and I say uwo shop we di car hu dwuma bi o ton car ade bi e fa car ho o pese ye ba waso ye te sese na ya ba the I Garage na o kirekire wo nsem mu akire wiase a me pa cho o be frɛ yempenifo na wo no atwetwe nkomo se opese osodwumedie yasene na beebi a yebekọ bia no yebo wade tonde hu dewuro e de ma won so a me pacho onso wo be frɛ ye mpenifo mon frɛ number yi na mon mpenifo ndwetwe nkomo 0249 590427 0249 590427 me pacho the producer Benjamin Youngson ono so no ye me DOP and afi executive producer Mr. Evans Pra pa chow ready nshira no ye okese share video no mame subscribe na ja comment bi wa se ho mame na da mesa aba no betemenka me din e de asofo chiame ready nshira no ye okese pa makraw
Pokana